Perhaps you are concerned about mRNA technology in your steak, or perhaps you're just concerned about what steak is going to cost you in the near future. In either case, consider checking out one of my sponsors for this month, Noble Gold. If you go to morrowgold.com or call 877-646-5347 and just ask them about diversifying your assets into precious metals. If you have an IRA, you want to switch over to gold and you're just curious what it would cost to sign up, what it would cost to maintain, what it would cost to withdraw, you can give them a call or go to morrowgold.com and seek the information while also supporting my work. Thanks to Noble Gold for choosing to continue sponsoring me, and thank you to my viewers who go check them out and just tell them that I sent you, because even just asking questions is a great way to support my work. If you sign up by the end of this month, every time they sponsor a couple more videos for the month, they tell me, hey, your viewers have this month as you're doing the read to give us a call. And if you sign up and you have a qualified IRA, $50,000 or more, you get a quarter ounce gold eagle coin. So go check them out for that. Again, morrowgold.com, 877-646-5347. As we've seen over the last couple of weeks, we've had bank runs. The US dollar is declining in value. And a lot of people are concerned about the economy, the housing market. I get questions about this kind of stuff all the time. And if precious metals have just been something that's been on your mind, you just want more information about it, don't listen to me. Give Noble Gold a call. They've been in business over 2 decades. They've got almost 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau and Consumer Affairs. So again, morrowgold.com, 877-646-5347. And also, I'm going to just do my disclaimer so the government doesn't jail me. This is not financial advice. There's always a risk when investing, and there are no guarantees of any kind. Okay, so with that, let's bring in our guest and see what he has to say about mRNA and meat. Jared Bedke is a longtime cattleman, not in Tennessee, in Idaho, but Tennessee is where we're going to start our journey, because it turns out, according to the Weston A. Price Foundation, which, hang on, we go. Tennessee Action Alert, HB 842 and SB 369, mRNA shots in meat livestock. And what they say, Jared, is that the House Bill 842 and Senate Bill 369 would allow meat to be labeled as being free of mRNA if the animals from which the meat was derived were not administered a mRNA vaccine. It would also remove authorization for the Commissioner of Agriculture and the state veterinarian to order vaccination of livestock, and specifies that there is no state legal requirement to vaccinate livestock in Tennessee. So they're saying, hey, let people know that you want these bills, basically. Now, there is currently a growing concern among consumers and livestock farmers over the safety of mRNA-based vaccines for both the animal and the consumer. With the growing trend to transfer all current livestock vaccines to mRNA technology, this bill would allow the consumer to make an informed choice when purchasing meat in Tennessee. Okay, opening thoughts. Jared, what would you first like everybody to know about you before we get into this?
Well, I've been watching Will Harris on your channel, and I've been working on my best Will Harris just so I can be on it. Or I could do a Joel Salatin, but we'll just stick with Jared Bedke for now.
Will Harris, you have to fast forward the video at like 4 speed in order to get through it before you die. So
and then,
yeah,
and then go back to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Switch back to. No, Will's a great guy. So is Joel, from all appearances. I like what they have to say, and I appreciate you having them on. In fact, I appreciate you having me on. This is kind of a sticky subject. It's going to be interesting about these 2 bills. One's a House bill, of course, one's a Senate bill. But they're seeking to pull out the ability of the state vet to require vaccinations. And that's going to be a difficult hurdle to do, simply based on the public health exemptions and things of that nature. So that might be the sticking point of this. The overall concept is basically just the way I understand it, the way I read it, was if they're wanting to just be able to add a label so that people will know whether their meat is mRNA free or whether sometime in the chain of events they have been given an mRNA shot. So that's basically the crux of the matter. And the question is, how prevalent are these shots, and whether or not they're currently in the industry, whether or not they're not in the industry, whether anything of the nature occurs.
So with any topic of major concern on social media, the fact checkers come out. So the AFP fact check here, mRNA vaccine cannot transfer through meat consumption. As of the streaming of this video, you can discuss this topic on YouTube. I do not know.
We're not going to push it.
Yeah, we're not going to be the guinea pigs on this one, but right now, as of the streaming of this video, you are allowed to discuss mRNA vaccines and livestock and concerns over this. But in the event that someday you can, which is highly likely, we may be going over to one of the other platforms like Rumble, ROKFIN, and Locals to just have more fun and not to evade censorship at all. We love YouTube. We just like the other platforms better. It's not you, it's me, YouTube. Okay, so we're not doing this to get around your rules or community guidelines. So just put that out there. I'm just doing this because I like the other platforms better. mRNA vaccine cannot transfer through meat consumption. Articles and social media posts claim people can inadvertently receive messenger RNA vaccines by eating meat from inoculated farm animals. This is false. Experts say that is, I'll always love it when they say experts say, that is not how mRNA vaccines work. And there are no such shots approved for livestock in the US. So two things I just want to throw out there to you, Jared. Number one, okay, first off, what experts? I mean, I love it when they say this kind of stuff because, there were plenty of experts who discussed the unknowns of the COVID shots that came on my channel, where the spike protein goes, how long it stays in your body. There are plenty of unanswered questions about mRNA vaccines that the honest experts would tell you about. And that's not the read that a lot of people got by watching mainstream legacy news. It was like, we have all the answers, it's tested, whatever. And the people who are the mRNA experts that I've had on are like, yeah, and that's not true. There's a lot of, this is the first time. We just don't know. We don't know where this stuff goes. We don't know how long it's in your body. And we don't know like the long-term consequences. There just are a lot of unknowns. So it seemed like it would be better, just me, like to say, we just don't know, but they're not willing to go there. So it makes me question, given the people I've interviewed in the past, whether this is true. Can you make this statement that this is not how mRNA vaccines work? And there's no, well, I guess you could say they're not approved for livestock yet, but I mean, you can't get mRNA by eating meat. How do you make that statement if there's never been a shot approved for livestock? I mean, we've never done this before. So how do they know? How can they make that statement?
I don't know how they can. They're doing it to just tamp down fears. And of course, who checks the fact checkers? That's what it boils down to. So when you gave me my homework assignment, I decided I'd better go out and see what I could find. And so, you go down the library and what are you going to find? The internet. So I stayed home and used the internet to do my research as well. I went out and I used my favorite search engine and I tried to find
which
basically, well, it's not Google. So I went through Brave. So
it's a pigeon.
Yes. Yeah. I tied a little message and sent it off. And when it came back, it didn't give me any information.
It went down to the other ranch.
It went down to the other pigeons and you bet. Yeah. And asked the cows. And then it said, well, we don't know. So
yeah,
what it boils down to. So I went up there and I looked and there's remarkably no information on this subject to speak of. I found an article here and I found an article there. And so what it basically boils down to is from my research, I found that it's either the end of the world as we know it, or it's nothing to be concerned about at all. I can't accept either one of those, but what it basically, I couldn't find any information about who's doing the tests, why it's even necessary. That was what I was looking at is, well, what are we trying to do here? We've had vaccinations in livestock for a while. Why do we need mRNA? And why do we need this technology? Well, they're more effective. Well, are we talking degrees? Are we talking percentages? Are we talking one and done? I don't know. Currently, you use modified live viruses or killed viruses, And well, we'll get way back to the beginning on this too. All of this is predicated upon germ theory. None of it's predicated upon, of course, the terrain theory. And so we were not even going to entertain terrain theory in this discussion, regardless of our own personal beliefs, simply because there's nothing in this pipeline that addresses that at all. And so if you're talking about vaccines,
well,
the first thing.
If you were in the terrain theory camp, you would say that all of this is just nuts anyway. That why are we vaccinating?
Why bother
livestock at all?
Right. But we're not talking about whether we should or shouldn't. We're talking about this particular thing and why we're going down this technological path. And so the thing that most people don't understand is you don't vaccinate against bacterias. Antibiotics are used for bacterias. They're not used for viruses, because, and you don't, as a vet explained to me one time, I said, well, what about this shot for scours, which is dysentery in animals? I said, what about this shot for scours? It's supposed to have Immuniguard and all that. And is it worth giving to my livestock? And he said, you can't inoculate it against a bacterial infection. They just pick it up. They eat it. It's in the air. It's whatever. So he says, it's kind of an acute thing. So he says, you can give them all these shots, but they're still going to eat the bacteria and get a stomach ache and basically poop their guts out. And
and one thing I think, I mean, this is taking us down, I think, another
Right.
rabbit hole, but one thing that you and I both know about veterinarians is that they often don't say that their interventions can hurt the animal's ability to fight its own infections. And so, for instance, the idea that you could medicate, and then if you're having an imbalance of good and bad bacteria, you could be actually harming the animal's ability to, have that balance. And
we're not talking about a microbiome at that point. We're not talking about what's best for the animal. We're talking about what's best for the producer. Because when I'm on a video livestock sale, like not promoting them, but this is who I go with, a Superior Livestock Auction. They come out and they run a video of my calves, and then they have an internet auction, and it's on TV as well. And that's how I sell. I sit in my front room on my easy chair and I watch my calves sell, and then they're for a future delivery. But there's a whole bunch of fruit salad on the bottom of the screen. Okay. And one of those is the VAC 45 program or the VAC 35 program or this or that or the other. And one of them was, it's been vaccinated with this scour guard, which means, hey, we got ahead of all the scours that are here. And so I asked the vet specifically, is that value added, or is it just costing me money that I'm not going to get back on the sale? And he just kind of smiled and he said, well, you got to understand, you can't vaccinate against a bacterial infection. So he says, your vaccines are for viral infections, not bacterial infections. So that's the theory. That's the train we're going down, right or wrong.
So since you, like you said, okay, sticking in the germ theory camp for a second, because this is where this is all coming from. When they talk about vaccinating for a viral infection, what are current viral infections that cattlemen would vaccinate for that would switch to an mRNA vaccine? And I do want to say real fast.
Brucellosis.
Hang on one second. Jason Vanderkoy, dairy farmer. A couple months ago, there were some stories started by vegan groups that claimed animals were being shot up with mRNA. This was false. I strongly oppose mRNA shots. I just want to put that out there, that there is strong concern about moving that way from livestock producers. But you said you're kind of like not sure, and you're in the middle there, or
okay. If you're talking about what I personally want, I'm not going to give any. If I know it's an mRNA shot, I'm not giving any. Because why? What's the benefit to me? We'll go down those rabbit trails a little bit later in the video. But anyway, so currently the viruses that we inoculate for are brucellosis is the big one, otherwise known as Bang's disease. We just about lost the entire cattle industry in the West during the 70s. I was a small kid, but boy, it was a mess. And so that's got its own little story. That's when the state vets actually came in and confiscated herds, and you had to take them all down to the livestock sale. And I've got a family story on that. In fact, my dad is probably the reason why everybody vaccinates for Bangs today. And so for right or for wrong, we lost our whole herd. We got down to 35 animals, and they happened to be vaccinated because my dad bought them from somebody around the corner here. And anyway, so he called a good friend of his at Texas A&M who was teaching veterinary school in Texas A&M, and he said, his name was Kent Van Camp, and he says, Kent, what do I do? And Kent says, vaccinate your heifers. And he says, I don't, they won't let me. And that's what the state vet was doing. They were threatening to seize our whole herd if we vaccinated the livestock because they wanted a natural immunity. They didn't want an artificial immunity. So that, like I say, he says they won't let me. And Kent says they can't stop you. They legally cannot stop you from vaccinating your own herd. And Dad says, well, where do I get the vaccine? Kent says, I'll send it to you. So he shipped it up here from Texas to my dad. And when the state vet heard that, they came down hard and they said, you're not going to do it. And Dad says, you can't stop me. And so we vaccinated the heifers out of those cows at that point in the game. And they made us run them through the chute, and they bled them at least 3 times that I remember. And it was a mess. It was in the middle of winter. It was cold. It was snowy. It was muddy. And they were really going to crack the whip on us. And they looked at us under a microscope. And then our cattle were the only ones that never came down with bangs after that. So I'm conflicted in a terrain versus germ theory, but that has now become the industry standard. In fact, in my state, you literally cannot sell a heifer that's not going directly to a commercial feedlot for slaughter that isn't vaccinated for brucellosis. And other states won't even let them in the state. Montana's bad about that. And so we pretty well eradicated that in Idaho just based on vaccinations, except up around the buffalo herds out of Yellowstone because the buffalo carry it bad.
Allison, please have a chat with Dr. Cowan, Kaufman, and the Baileys. I have had Kaufman and the Baileys on. I just haven't had Dr. Cowan yet. Go check out those old videos. I'd love to have Dr. Cowan on.
That's all terrain theory. That's all terrain theory.
That's what they're saying.
And so what I mean is, okay, we've got to set the terrain germ debate aside. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant for talking about this.
Well, you could say, I mean, they would say it's relevant, but you could say, okay, yeah, if you don't buy into germ theory, then this whole conversation is not even like, you might as well just tune out. Go to AllisonWinePromo.com and get yourself some wine, and then just sit back and drink some wine. Actually, you know what? As long as we're talking about it, let's pitch some wine real fast. Let's just get it out of the way, and then that way we can move to the other platforms that we like better, not because we're trying to evade censorship once again. That's not my URL. That's my URL for locals. This is my URL for wine. Okay, 50% off the best wine you ever had and 50% off shipping. High altitude, extremist altitude, never before imported 92 point Malbec, 8,200 feet. I ski. Well, the last time I skied in Idaho, northern Idaho, we were at 7,500 feet at the top of the mountain, and it was cold. And I was thinking to myself, there's no way you could grow grapes up here. But in fact, yes, you can grow grapes up there, and they do. And if you go to AllisonWinePromo.com, you can taste what it's like to drink a grape that is suffering for your taste buds, suffering in just this terribly cold, dry conditions, even though they're dead in the winter. But that's okay. Just pretend like the potential for them is alive over the winter. And then they survive and they become grapes, and then they become your wine. So go to AllisonWinePromo.com, get an extremist altitude wine, support my work. Thanks again to Bonner Wines for being one of my sponsors. They have been one of my most loyal sponsors throughout the last couple of years. So it's a great way to keep me in business. TwinEngineCoffee.com/Allison. Also, you can get some TwinEngineCoffee.com/Allison at TwinEngineCoffee.com/Allison. USDA certified organic roast, but I don't have the website pulled up. I'm not going to waste your time. So go get some some good coffee.
That middle one at 82,000 feet, that's impressive.
8,200. Sorry, did I say 82,000?
That's not what it says. It says 82,000 on that screen.
It does say 82,000.
I'm saying now that is some high altitude wine.
Now we're going to get into the whole flat earther debate on top of.
No.
We're going to hit all the major topics today.
Why not? We'll get you banned for 4 different subjects at once.
High altitude suffering wine. That's right. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to right before we go to the other platforms that we like better. I just wanted to bring up Who's Ed's question on locals again. Join my locals community. You can go one-on-one with the most censored people on the internet. $5 a month to be on my editorial board. You get exclusive content like a weekly media analysis show with Bill Doris, Tittle Tattle. It's a lot of fun. Who's Ed says, if you can't get viral transmission by meat consumption, why cull chickens that have viral infection?
The answer to that is so it doesn't spread to the rest of the chicken herd and kill them. But you don't eat sick animals anyway. That's the I was at the sale last week actually. So I'm sitting there at the sale and there was 2 animals they brought in, and these things are just wheezing. They can't breathe. And somebody just took them down there to say, get rid of them. And there wasn't a single person in there that wanted to even touch them. In fact, I'm surprised they even brought them through the sale yard with the chance of contaminating everybody else. So that's also viral theory. That's also not terrain theory, but nobody wants to eat a sick animal. It doesn't matter who it is, if that makes sense. So what they're trying to stop is again, based on germ theory, the transmission from one to another to another to another. And that's basically what we do when you vaccinate, is you try to head that off and keep it from propagating through all the vaccinated animals.
Okay, before we move on, if you were to, your best guess as you've been reading this material, which you say is very confusing in some ways, I guess, like you can't get a good answer on it.
That's non-existent.
Okay, it's non-existent. Okay, so then what's your best guess about why the industry would switch to mRNA vaccines for livestock?
Because it's new. And they can make money off of it, to be quite honest with you. I think if they can steer everybody in that direction, everything's still under patent. There's no generics available. There's just, I don't know whether it's safer. You see, I was talking about the brucellosis vaccination, that they won't even let individuals do that anymore. It has to go through a veteran. It has to be a licensed vet that administers that shot, because if you inject yourself, you can get rheumatic fever. And that's why that's why they want it controlled. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what you're basically, an animal with brucellosis gives off the milk that's contaminated. And not only do they have spontaneous abortions and it decimates your herd, but that milk can then propagate down and give people who drink it rheumatic fever. Mm-hmm. That's what they say. That's what they determined. So, anyway, it's.
Go ahead, Jared. Finish.
No. So what I'm saying is, that was the cause of it, and that's why when they say it can't come through tainted animals, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth, because on one side they're saying that we got to prevent brucellosis because of X, Y, and Z, and it does propagate to humans. But on the other hand, they're saying, oh no, but everything's perfectly safe if you eat the meat. So we'll go down both of those paths eventually. But I just, because that's why it's so hard to get a definitive answer on any of this. Mm-hmm. It really is, because it's all speculation. It's all, well, I don't think that. Well, the studies show. Well, what study? I don't know. Well, the experts say, well, what expert? Okay. Right. I'm as good an expert as anybody that they're quoting, and I don't know shit.
That's going on Twitter. Vince, I had to watch your YouTube promo, and now you're going to say F off, bye. Yeah, I am. And I'm going to say this directly to Vince. F off, bye. Because if you're watching free on YouTube and not over on one of the other platforms, I can't help you. I can't help you if you're still relying on YouTube for your information.
They can watch for free on Rumble.
Yeah, you can watch for free on Locals. You can watch for free on Rumble, ROKFIN, Locals. Watch for free on all those. So get off of YouTube and stop complaining. You're being a little bitch. I have a kid under my desk, so I can't say it. All right. Bye, everybody.